Hello and welcome back. Let me share with you what has been occupying my thoughts lately, because this current arc feels both fresh and deeply rooted in everything that has made General Hospital such a beloved companion for us. It all centers around Jocelyn discovering what I can only describe as Anna's legacy hidden away in that dimly lit basement. I remember the moment it happened on screen. The way the camera lingered on her face as she uncovered those old boxes and documents, remnants of Anna's past that seemed to carry the weight of years of secrets and sacrifices. For a character like Jocelyn, who has grown up before our eyes from that spirited little girl into a young woman navigating her own storms, this discovery wasn't just a plot device. It felt personal, almost like she was stepping into a chapter of Port Charles history that many of us older fans have lived through alongside Anna herself. I've watched Anna evolve from her days as a formidable agent to the resilient woman she is today, and seeing her legacy surface in such a vulnerable way reminded me of how the show has always excelled at connecting generations of characters and viewers alike. What struck me most, though, was how Jocelyn chose to handle it all on her own at first. There she was, self-rescuing in the truest sense, refusing to wait for help or let the situation overwhelm her. I have to admit, I felt a swell of pride watching that. We've seen so many strong women on this show over the years, Anna being one of the finest examples, and Jocelyn's determination echoes that strength. Yet it also sparked something new, something the writers seemed to be building toward with careful, almost deliberate pacing. A fresh obsession taking hold. It's not the kind of fleeting drama that comes and goes. This feels deeper, more layered, like an emotional undercurrent that could reshape how Jocelyn moves through her world. I found myself wondering, as I'm sure many of you did, whether this self-reliance is truly empowering her or if it's planting the seeds for isolation that we've seen consume other characters in the past. In my view, it's the former, at least for now. Jocelyn isn't repeating old mistakes. She's forging her own path, and that basement discovery has given her both clarity and a quiet fire that I believe will serve her well. Of course, with every new revelation comes complication, and this storyline doesn't shy away from them. The way Jocelyn is now prepared to confront Cassius once more, that readiness to strike again after everything she's already endured, has me on the edge of my seat. It's not mere revenge. It feels like a necessary reckoning, a way for her to reclaim control amid the chaos. I've seen similar patterns in the show's history, where characters we've grown to love push back against threats that linger too long in the shadows. Remember how Anna herself faced down adversaries who seemed insurmountable? This echoes those moments, yet it carries a distinctly modern edge for Jocelyn's generation. The new shocks keep adjusting the narrative in subtle but powerful ways, proving that the obsession isn't just a personal fixation but something that ripples outward, affecting alliances and old wounds alike. I don't always agree with every aggressive turn the plot takes. Sometimes I wish the writers would allow a bit more breathing room for reflection before the next confrontation. But here, it feels justified. The evidence is in the way the story has been building. Each encounter with Cassius has layered on tension, showing us a Jocelyn who is no longer the observer but an active force demanding justice on her own terms. And just when you think the tension couldn't mount any higher, the storyline shifts again, reminding us why General Hospital has endured for so long. The prospect of Anna returning to pull Jocelyn from the dangers ahead is one of those classic soap opera pivots that feels both inevitable and thrilling. I've always admired how the show circles back to its core relationships, and Anna, stepping in now, after Jocelyn has already begun saving herself, creates a beautiful symmetry. It's not about diminishing Jocelyn's efforts. Rather, it highlights the intergenerational bond that has always been the heart of Port Charles. We've watched Anna mentor and protect others through countless crises, and seeing her return in this capacity feels like a full circle moment. One of the new troubles brewing is how this rescue might complicate the very obsession that has taken root. Will it ease Jocelyn's burden or add another layer of complexity to her independence? In my experience with the show, these intersections often lead to the richest character growth, and I'm optimistic here. The madness rising around Jocelyn's eventual escape from peril isn't chaotic for chaos's sake. It's a deliberate escalation that underscores the stakes, making every development feel earned rather than contrived. What I appreciate most about this phase of the story is how it forces us, as longtime viewers, to reflect on the passage of time. Jocelyn finding Anna's legacy isn't just about hidden items in a basement. It's a metaphor for the way the past informs the present in ways we don't always anticipate. I've lived through eras where storylines stretched across months or even years, rewarding patience with payoffs that felt deeply satisfying. This one has that same promise. The adjustments to the shocks, those sudden revelations that upend expectations, keep the narrative alive without losing its emotional core. I've caught myself pausing the episode at times, thinking back to similar basement discoveries or hidden truths from decades ago, and realizing how the show has matured while staying true to its roots. Jocelyn's willingness to attack Cassius again, even as new dangers mount, proves that the obsession is evolving into something more profound. A catalyst for change not just for her, but for the wider circle of characters we've come to care about. Of course, I do have a few gentle reservations, as any devoted fan who has seen it all might. At moments, the pace of these new obsessions feels almost breathless, and I wonder if younger characters like Jocelyn are being asked to shoulder too much too quickly. But then I remind myself of the evidence on screen. Her growth has been steady, her relationships tested in believable ways, and the support from figures like Anna provides the anchor we need. This isn't reckless storytelling. It's the kind that honors the audience's intelligence, trusting us to follow the threads without spoon-feeding every emotion. The way the plot is changing, really shifting the focus onto Jocelyn's self-rescue and the impending reunion with Anna, demonstrates a confidence in the material that I haven't seen in every arc over the years. It makes me excited for what comes next, even as it tugs at those familiar heartstrings. As I sit here sharing these thoughts with you, I hope you feel the same warmth and connection that I do. General Hospital has been more than entertainment for people like us. It's been a steady presence through life's ups and downs, marriages, grandchildren, retirements, and everything in between. This storyline with Jocelyn and Anna's legacy, the self-saving courage, the renewed confrontations with Cassius, and the promise of Anna's return amid the rising madness, it all reminds me why we stay invested. It's messy and dramatic, yes, but it's also profoundly human. I believe the writers are striking a balance that respects our long history with the show while introducing fresh energy. Have you noticed how these developments invite us to root even harder for resolution? Not just for the characters, but for the sense of continuity they represent. I certainly have, and I'm grateful for it. What's unfolding now is exactly the kind of bold shift that keeps longtime viewers like us coming back. Jocelyn and Anna have started this new revenge action, one that builds straight from that basement discovery and Jocelyn's self-rescue we talked about before. It's not some quick, flashy plot twist. It's layered, deliberate, the kind of story that rewards patience. I watched Jocelyn's face as she decided to move forward with Anna at her side, and it reminded me of the quiet strength we've seen in so many women on this show over the decades. They're not rushing in blindly. Instead, the writers have given us these new shocks tied directly to the revenge small revelations that adjust the entire narrative in ways that feel almost dizzying. One moment Jocelyn seems in control, the next a fresh piece of information drops, twisting her plans and ours right along with them. I have to admit, I paused the episode once or twice, asking myself if the story was veering too far into the dramatic. But then I remembered how General Hospital has always done this. It pushes boundaries, tests our loyalties, and somehow brings it all back home. The way the revenge storyline is exploding around Jocelyn feels electric, doesn't it? It's as if everything that came before the hidden legacy, the self-saving courage, the renewed confrontations, was building pressure, and now it's bursting outward. Jocelyn isn't just reacting anymore. She's driving the action, and Anna's involvement adds this beautiful depth, like two generations joining forces against shadows that have lingered far too long. I've always appreciated how the show honors its history while letting younger characters carve their own space, and this pairing does exactly that. Yet it's the new crazy adjustments that really have me hooked. The plot keeps shifting in these wild, almost mad ways, new dangers appearing out of nowhere, alliances tested, secrets spilling out that make each episode feel like a roller coaster. I found myself chuckling softly at one point, thinking back to the wilder storylines of the 80s and 90s when everything seemed to teeter on the edge of chaos. This feels like a modern echo of that energy, but grounded in the emotional lives we've come to know so well. And then there's Cassius, stepping into the fray in a way that proves just how far everything is going. In a stunning turn, he begins accusing Sidwell and Cullum of their own actions, laying bare connections that none of us saw coming. I sat there, eyes wide, as the accusations landed, because it wasn't just talk, it was the kind of bombshell that ripples through the entire canvas of Port Charles. Sidwell and Cullum have been these quiet, looming presences, and suddenly, Cassius is dragging their deeds into the light, tying them straight into Jocelyn and Anna's revenge. It's proof that the story isn't staying contained, it's expanding, reaching into corners we thought were settled. I've seen this kind of escalation before, where one character's confession or accusation pulls the whole town into the drama, and it never fails to keep me invested. Does it risk going too far? Maybe a little, I'll confess. At times, the pace feels breathless, the shocks piling up so quickly that I worry we might lose the quieter, character-driven moments that made us fall in love with the show in the first place. But the writing backs it up with clear motivation: Jocelyn's growth, Anna's wisdom, Cassius's desperation. Everything feels earned, even when it's pushing the limits. What I love most is how personal it all feels. As someone who has followed these characters through marriages, births, betrayals, and redemptions, I see Jocelyn's revenge not as mere payback, but as a declaration of independence, sharpened by Anna's steady hand. The new adjustments, the crazy twists that keep redefining the stakes, make me reflect on how life in Port Charles mirrors our own in unexpected ways. We've all had moments where the past resurfaces, where old wounds demand attention, and suddenly the people we trust become our greatest allies. That's what this arc is doing so well, blending the revenge with genuine emotional undercurrents. Cassius pointing fingers at Sidwell and Cullum doesn't just complicate the plot, it forces everyone, including us viewers, to question who we root for and why. I find myself siding with Jocelyn and Anna more than ever, even as the story races ahead, because their actions stem from that deep sense of justice we've watched them earn over time. Of course, with every big swing comes the quiet hope for resolution. I wonder sometimes if the writers will let the madness settle long enough for real conversations, for healing amid the chaos. But then, I remember the show's long history of balancing spectacle with heart, and I trust they'll get there. The way this revenge is exploding, with Cassius's accusations proving how far the ripples reach, has me excited for the weeks ahead. It's the kind of storytelling that reminds us why we've stayed loyal all these years through changing casts, evolving production, and life's own ups and downs. For those of us over 60 who have shared this journey, General Hospital still feels like an old friend who knows exactly how to pull us in, make us gasp, and leave us pondering long after the screen fades.